Welcome to Xi Jinping Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Vietnam PM says everything is good with top leader's health. Chinese leader gives early estimate of economic growth. Battle lines, blow to Beijing as Taiwan chooses candidate Xi fears the most. The West is protecting China's vital interests in the Red Sea. China must win the hearts of the Taiwanese, says Xi Jinping. Vietnam PM says everything is good with top leader's health. Nikkei Asia. Vietnam's Prime Minister, Pham Minh Chinh, has stated that there are no health issues with the country's top leader, Nguyen Phu Trong. Trong had not been included in official schedules of recent meetings with foreign dignitaries, leading to speculation about his health. Chin confirmed that Trong is okay and had attended the opening ceremony of an extraordinary session of Vietnam's National Assembly. Chin also emphasized that Vietnam considers both the US and China to be strategic partners and that the country pursues a foreign policy of being a reliable friend and partner to all countries. He discussed Vietnam's plans to shift from cheaply assembling technology products to designing them, stating that the country needs to take advantage of its status as a latecomer and learn from the experiences of other countries. Chinese leader gives early estimate of economic growth. New York Times. China's Premier Li Qiang has stated that the country's economy grew around 5.2% last year, beating its target of 5% growth. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Li also said that China achieved this growth without using risky or short-term measures. The official economic growth figure for 2022 will be announced on Wednesday. Li's comments are in line with publicly available estimates. Chinese news organization Caixin predicted growth of 5.3%. China has been cautious about increasing central government spending in its efforts to reverse a broad slowdown. Battle lines, blow to Beijing as Taiwan chooses candidate Xi fears the most. Telegraph. This article is a brief summary of a podcast episode titled Battle Lines that focuses on the Taiwanese election and its implications for the region. The podcast discusses how Taiwan, which China claims as its own territory, is a potential flashpoint for global conflict. The election is seen as consequential for determining Taiwan's relationship with China over the next 4 years. The podcast also mentions that tensions are rising between nation-states around the world, and the international security architecture is under pressure. The podcast aims to provide insight into world politics, wars, and tensions in an increasingly dangerous and confusing multipolar world. The West is protecting China's vital interests in the Red Sea. Telegraph. The ongoing Houthi missile attacks in the Bab al-Mandeb Strait pose a serious risk to China's long-term economic and strategic interests, according to the Telegraph. Tesla and Volvo announced temporary closures of plants in Europe this week due to the Red Sea crisis, which has held up critical components from China. China is heavily reliant on stable supplies of oil and gas from the Middle East, as it is the world's biggest importer of crude oil and liquefied natural gas. However, if tensions escalate further in the Middle East, China could face an economic sudden stop if it loses access to hydrocarbon facilities in the Gulf and seaborne supplies of crude and LNG. The US, on the other hand, does not need any OPEC oil, as fracking technology has made it the world's top producer of oil and gas by a wide margin. The article concludes that it is time to hold Chinese President Xi Jinping's feet to the diplomatic fire and question whether China is truly a co-defender of the world trading system or still a free-riding opportunist. China must win the hearts of the Taiwanese, says Xi Jinping. Telegraph. Chinese President Xi Jinping has called on the ruling Communist Party to win the hearts of the Taiwanese people, following their recent rejection of Beijing's warning not to vote for a pro-sovereignty president. Xi emphasized the need to stoke national awareness and patriotism among citizens in Taiwan, as well as Hong Kong and Macau. His comments came after Taiwan's election victory for Lai Ching-te, the candidate for the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, despite Chinese threats that his election could raise the risk of conflict. China's government regards the DPP as dangerous separatists. Trump wins Iowa as Republican primary cycle kicks off. Nikkei Asia. Donald Trump has won the 2024 Republican primaries in Iowa, taking around 50% of the vote. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis came in second, with former United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley finishing third. Trump struck a moderate tone in his victory speech, calling for unity in addressing the problems facing the country. He criticized President Joe Biden's handling of foreign policy, particularly in relation to Russia and China. Trump has strong isolationist tendencies and a desire to stay out of foreign wars, but his core supporters want him to be tough on China. America can't surpass China's power in Asia. Foreign affairs. The United States should adopt a strategy that prioritizes balancing, rather than exceeding, Chinese power in Asia, according to an article in Foreign Affairs. The article argues that the pursuit of military primacy in the region is unsustainable and that the United States should focus on safeguarding access to strategic locations and key waterways, while helping allies and partners strengthen their self-defense capabilities. The article also suggests that the United States needs to better navigate the region's multilateral institutions to advance its interests and influence, rather than relying solely on US-centered partnerships. Critics of balancing may argue that it would embolden China and stoke fears of abandonment among US allies, but the article argues that a balancing approach would be more sustainable and less risky, as it works with the region's unique geography. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Bo, your six-dimensional observer, bringing you the latest news from around the world. Now, let's dive into our news roundup. First up, Vietnam's Prime Minister has assured us that the country's top leader, Nguyen Phu Trong, is in good health. Speculation had arisen due to his absence from recent official schedules. But fear not, Trong is okay and recently attended an important ceremony. So, it seems all is well in Vietnam. Moving on to China, Premier Li Qiang has given an early estimate of the country's economic growth, stating that it reached around 5.2% last year, beating the target of 5%. Impressive. And the best part? China achieved this without resorting to risky or short-term measures. But let's wait for the official figures to be announced on Wednesday. Fingers crossed for continued growth. Now, let's turn our attention to Taiwan, where the recent election is causing quite a stir. Taiwan, claimed by China as its own territory, has chosen a candidate that Beijing fears the most. Tensions are rising, and the international security architecture is under pressure. It's like a real-life game of Risk out there. Stay tuned, folks, as things could get quite interesting. Shifting our focus to the Red Sea crisis, we learned that China's vital interests are at stake. Ongoing Houthi missile attacks are disrupting China's supply chain, affecting the production of Tesla and Volvo vehicles in Europe. China heavily relies on stable oil and gas supplies from the Middle East, so this is no laughing matter. Will China be able to navigate this crisis and protect its interests? Only time will tell. Meanwhile, Chinese President Xi Jinping is calling on the Communist Party to win the hearts of the Taiwanese people. Following Taiwan's rejection of Beijing's warning, Xi wants to stoke national awareness and patriotism in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau. It's like a battle for love and loyalty. Will the Taiwanese people succumb to Xi's charm offensive? We'll have to wait and see. In the realm of politics, Donald Trump has emerged victorious in the Republican primaries in Iowa. But don't worry, folks, he struck a moderate tone in his victory speech, calling for unity. However, he didn't hold back in criticizing President Joe Biden's foreign policy, particularly in relation to Russia and China. Trump's supporters want him to be tough on China, so let's see if he delivers. Lastly, an interesting article suggests that the United States should focus on balancing, rather than surpassing, China's power in Asia. The pursuit of military primacy in the region is deemed unsustainable. Instead, the United States should safeguard key locations and waterways while helping allies strengthen their self-defense capabilities. It's like a strategic dance. Will this approach prove more effective in the long run? Time will tell. And there you have it, folks, the latest news from around the world. Remember, these are just snapshots of what's happening, but they give us a taste of the complex and ever-changing dynamics of our world. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you make of these stories? Do you have any burning questions? Share your ideas, and let's engage in a lively discussion together. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.